Okay, that's open on YouTube,
Awesome.
but I think we're going to get that feedback.
Maybe not.
Okay, that's open on YouTube. Yep.
Awesome.
Okay. All right, and then we are live on YouTube. Let's see if I can record. Cloud. All righty.
All right, here we
Yeah.
are, a few hours late, but we're here.
We're here. We're doing this, yes, and so we had some unstable weather go through here last night, which kind of played havoc with Kelly's schedule, sleep schedule, technology schedule. So yes, so we are running late, but we are doing this. And Jessica, welcome. Today we're going to talk about how women respond to the shifting sands of change in their lives. And maybe throw in just a twist of the stress and the stress responses that we have as a result of the change.
Yes.
This change causes stress, and we don't always respond to stress the way we want to. So
Absolutely.
you want to go ahead and lead us off on this?
Yeah, absolutely. So we were just chatting together before we hopped on YouTube and started the recording. And we were chatting a lot about how routines play a big role in stress response. And obviously, specifically, stress can come up during times of change, which is what we're here to talk about. But you were telling me how, it's really easy for you to develop great routines, whether it be self-care routines, maybe eating routines, eating patterns, those sort of things. It's really easy to start those things when we're feeling good, right? When we're feeling at our best, when our stress levels are low. But as soon as a stressor comes up, whether it's due to change or not, our routines can be greatly affected, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what you were telling me about, like, a situation at work that you had going on.
Yeah, it's been a interesting morning with work. Feels like lots of stuff changing and just unmet expectations. You know, and it's stressful. And it's like, I, reaffirmed this morning, as I'm doing my quiet time, like, okay, I need to be really careful and conscientious about, my food choices. And then I come in and the manager for the building's got donuts downstairs. And I'm like, never mind the good choices. I just want a donut. And it's like, so, and I was thinking about that in context of our conversation, because a lot of times I feel like we as women sabotage ourselves, and we get this cycle going of unsustainable goals or ideas, and then we sabotage, and then we shame ourselves, and that just contributes to more and less than desirable choices.
Yeah.
So it just seems to be like this cycle of staying on that hamster wheel, and that's not the way we want to live our lives. We want to live our lives empowered and making positive choices.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I think when we aren't maintaining like those routines that help us feel like our best selves, our self-care routines and daily routines and things like that, it is hard to make those positive choices.
It is. So one of the things that we do a lot for coaches, and I was thinking about this because when women undergo changes, whether it's having a child, bringing a new family member in, going back to work, after having a baby, children leaving the house to go to college, or moving out, changing jobs, those things all bring about stress.
Mm.
And how can we choose genuine self-care versus self-indulgence through those times, and so like as coaches, we support our clients in reframing a response or how we see a situation. And so I was thinking, how can we reframe self-care to be something that is genuinely healthy for us and is going to empower us, big picture, versus diving into the donuts, short-term gratification?
Yeah, no, I think that that's a great question. And I think that that's a great way to start thinking about it and shifting our mindset, because in reality, like all those changes and transitions that you just listed off, happen in life, right? Like things are constantly changing and roles are shifting and we're growing and stepping into new job roles, new life roles, all of those things. And if we're able to look at our self-care practices and routines as really as a way to help us show up as our best selves throughout all of those changes, I think it would help us to approach those changes in a different way, right? So we're not avoiding change, we're accepting that it's going to happen, but what are we doing to show up as our best selves throughout that?
So what would you say to someone to a mom who's had a really difficult morning with a school-age child, taken them to school, dropped them off, and pulls out of the school parking lot, and between the school and her office is Dunkin' Donuts. And she's like, after everything I've been through this morning, I deserve a donut. And knowing that's really not, that's not something that's going to support her. Maybe she's, dealing with insulin issues and has other health things that are going on. So she's really supposed to be watching her diet and taking better care of herself. One, she wants to be there for her child as the child grows up. How do we empower women to, in those stressful moments, to choose something that is genuine self-care past the Dunkin' Donuts?
Well, I think it starts with the desire and the feeling you're looking for out of that donut. So I'll ask you, Kelly, because you said that this was a real, this is a real life scenario for you this morning. You've been trying to eat healthy. You've got some health things going on. You had a stressful morning. You went to work. Donuts are offered to you. I won't ask you on the air whether you took that donut or not. We won't go there, but
I didn't, and I'm not going to.
But let me ask you, Kelly, what, that donut was obviously a temptation. So what were you looking for in that donut? What were you looking for in that donut?
Probably just comfort.
Mm-hmm.
And the stress for me, triggers that wanting a distraction, wanting something. I think this is really, I think, is where the bottom line is it lowers my energetic resistance to stay on track. If it had been a great morning, everything was good. I had not had issues with the electricity last night and into early this morning. And I'm physically and mentally on track, then it's easy to just walk by and say, no, not a problem. But when all those defenses are under attack, as they are real world all the time, it lowers the strength, it lowers the defenses, the ability to mentally choose the better option.
Yeah.
It's like the first time I went downstairs and I saw the box of donuts, it's like I literally went outside. I was like, I'm just going to go outside. It's cold outside. My coat's upstairs. I'm just going to walk outside and literally cool off and just feel that temperature change in my body instead of eating a donut. Just trying to completely reframe the whole experience.
Yeah. So you said though that you, in a stressful situation, that donut would bring comfort.
Yeah.
Comfort. And that, in this scenario that you described about the mom having a tough school drop off, maybe she would be looking for comfort too.
Mm-hmm.
So with that in mind, I would take it one step further and challenge you to think about if you did receive that comfort and not focusing on the donut, focusing on the comfort. How else would that make you feel?
That's a really good question. Because I think ultimately what we're really looking for is a distraction from whatever the stressor is. So if it's like today was just a difficult morning, but when you're dealing with large, just big life-changing decisions like a child moving out of the house or a new baby or big changes, changing jobs, those are really the stress and the desire for comfort is going to be more than just a 10-minute event. It's going to be maybe 10 days, maybe 10 weeks of stressful transition. And viewing going for a walk, getting some fresh air as comforting and stress relieving, and putting that in the same, like you said, focus on that comfort, focus on the desire versus, you know, a temptation that may be in front of you, you know. And I think that may be a tool that could be used just to help support someone through that kind of a difficult change in their life.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to really dig into what we're looking for, what we're looking to gain out of those actions, whether it be eating a donut or, you know, the lots of different things that we do. But
Right.
if we're looking and really spending some time figuring out what we're looking to gain
Right.
out of that action, we can start to build alternate actions that will better support us. So, you know, again, using that comfort, like when I'm having a stressful day, I also, you know, think of just wanting like comfort or like that warm blanket, like, you know, time
Right.
to rest. So like, honestly, my go-to is like to take a hot shower in the afternoon, or like that to me is like that comfort and that warmth. And yeah, just like being wrapped in a warm hug or a warm blanket, you know, that sort of does that for me. And I think not always, I'm certainly tempted by donuts and things as well, you know, but again, if we can really dig into like what it is that we need and and how we can replace that with healthy habits versus distractions, like you said, or quick fixes that ultimately have us feeling worse later, you know?
Right. Yeah, one of the things that I've been studying a lot recently is that strong mind-body connection. And it's much more powerful than I realized until I started really digging into it. And when we choose, I'm going to use the word self-indulgent when we choose self-indulgent versus self-care, whether it's, you know, a donut or a glass of wine or pizza or whatever it is, or just sitting down and binge watching Netflix instead of going for a walk, or, you know, working out in the garden or whatever. You know, when we're outside, we get vitamin D, we get sunshine, we get the things that just give us energy. And that impacts and affects our thinking. It affects our you know, the way we feel, and it can, for days to come, it can be like a leapfrog effect and continue to build on it, where when we make a self-indulgent choice, it has that same kind of leapfrog effect, but, you know, in a different one of the things that I practice regularly is intermittent fasting. And I know, so I don't ever eat until 2 p.m. But I notice on the mornings, if I've had carbs the night before with my dinner, the next day is difficult because it triggers a higher level of insulin and cravings. So the next day, I'm more likely to deal with sugar cravings than if I just eat meat and vegetables, so it affects ongoing. It's not just that, it's not in isolation. If we give in and eat the donut, then it's immediately gratifying in that moment, but the consequences are going to be ongoing. It's going to continue to trigger an insulin response and sugar cravings,
right.
For maybe a couple days, depending on how sensitive your body is to it. So that's what I've been thinking about, is like, how do we get through these shifting sand moments and continue to love and support ourselves through them, so that we don't feel, we're not angry, we're not frustrated all the time. We can get through them and be happy and be at peace, because that's ultimately our desire, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think that there's a couple of things there. I mean, I think one, not beating ourselves up over how we handled, a moment or a period of change or stress. But really looking at each situation as an opportunity to learn. So, if you did say yes to that donut this morning, Kelly, I would encourage you to not beat yourself up over it. Like, really reflect on how it made you feel. Did it bring you that comfort you were looking for? What's something that, if it didn't, what's something that may bring you that comfort in a healthier way, and sort of helping to set yourself up to handle the situation better in the future. But the other thing is, and I had mentioned this to you before we went live, a lot of the clients that I work, this comes up almost always when we're talking about routines and self-care. And I just think it's important to note, is that I think a lot of times we're really gung-ho and motivated to put new self-care practices into place when we're coming off the heels of a really stressful time, or
Right.
we just barely just made it through a big change or something. And so we're like, all right, that's it. I'm going to start exercising every day, and I'm going to eat healthier, and I'm going to meditate every morning. And, we come up with all these great things because we're like, all right, I don't want to handle it that way again. And a couple of things happen there. One, we think we can just jump in and do all the things right away. And we sort of, set ourselves up for failure, so to speak, because, for someone to wake up on a Monday morning and be like, all right, that's it, I'm meditating every morning, and I'm going to go for a run every afternoon, and, I'm going to do this and do that, and I'm going to journal at night. And it's like, no, we got to start slow.
Right.
So I think it's really important to, really important to start slow. I think building solid, healthy routines requires taking baby steps. Okay, go ahead.
I listened to a really fascinating Brene Brown video a couple months ago, and she was talking about this and establishing new patterns, which is, how we're wanting to respond. And the idea that she was putting out there was, instead of starting with, I'm going to work out for half an hour every day, And then when you don't have that half an hour, or you don't have the hour to drive to the gym, work out for half an hour and then go back, you don't do anything because you don't have the time to do that whole half hour. So that it's about establishing patterns that are small, you know. And so the idea was to just get in the habit of going to the gym every day, even if you're there for 5 minutes, just go to the gym and just establish that pattern in that time of going to the gym. Once you have established that habit of going to the gym every day, and that's just part of your routine, then you can grow that. You can grow that habit from a 5-minute habit to a 10-minute habit.
Yeah.
And then grow it from a 10-minute habit to a 15-minute habit. And pretty soon, well, maybe not pretty soon, maybe it takes 6 months to get to a point where you're at the gym for a half an hour every day. But you've grown that like a healthy flower grows, rather than trying to go from a seed to a full-blown rose.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't work.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. So, you know, like I was explaining, taking baby steps in the amount of different activities you're doing and different parts of your routine. But then within that, like you said, even those individual things require baby steps as well.
Yeah. So it's start slow and small.
Yeah.
You know, start slow and small and be kind to yourself. Be gracious and not demanding too much of yourself in your time.
Yeah. And I think another big one, and I think that you and I have touched on this probably a couple of times already in our lives, but like, no matter how small the step is, like celebrate the heck out of it.
Yes.
Because that's how you build momentum. When you build like that excitement within yourself and that sense of pride and, you know, all of those positive emotions that go along with it, like that's kind of that's how you build momentum. So I think that that's really important. And whether that celebration is by yourself in your journal before you go to bed each night, whether you phone a friend or have some sort of like accountability text going on or something like that. I think it's important to have a way to do that, because I think that makes a big difference in that routine building as well.
It does. And being kind to yourself in that process. I think the other thing I would say to women who are in that season, in a season of change, is don't add on to it. Don't add on something else. When you're in the midst of dealing with one change, let one change be what you're doing, and get comfortable with that, and get that, you know, where it's inside your comfort zone, and then look at adding something else to it. Don't just keep piling on and adding on, you know, until you're ready to pull your hair out.
Yeah.
Because self-sabotage comes in more than one form.
Yeah. So Kelly, what would you recommend? Because I think this happens a lot, right? We pile a lot of things on our plate, and even when we're stressed, we continue to say yes to things.
Right.
And even when we're not stressed, you know, sometimes we're not stressed and we say yes to way too many things. And then one stressful thing happens, and all of a sudden it's like,
Right.
that plate's flying in the air. What would you recommend to somebody in that situation that has piled their plate too high and now is just in a complete state of overwhelm?
Well, kind of going back to that mind-body connection, I think the first thing to do, and this is difficult to do in the midst of a moment, is to practice some breathing exercises. I love box breathing, and I've been using box breathing a lot. And for anybody who doesn't know what box breathing is, inhaling for a count of, say, for a count of 4, holding your breath for a count of 4, exhaling to a count of 4, hold for a count of 4, and then repeat. And I don't know all the fancy names for what that does in our brain, but it does a lot of really good things in our brain. It really calms us down, allows clarity and calmness in that moment. So I'd say just, and you can do that anywhere. You don't have to be sitting on a floor, meditating to do that. You can, in a grocery store line, on a phone call, you can take that time and just bring your awareness to your breath and focus on your breathing for a minute. I think that helps pull us out of the feeling of being out of control, and pulls us back into a place of, I can choose how I want to respond to this. One, and then take a look at what it is you want to add on to what you're already dealing with. And I like lists. I'm a list person. I have lists for everything.
Same.
And I do. I've always loved lists. They're comforting to me. So that's something that now I'm choosing when I feel that stress. It's like, okay, what is everything that's I feel is coming down on me, that's rocking my world? Let me write it all down. And in the process of writing it down, I find maybe it really isn't as overwhelming as it felt like it was. But then the things that I don't have to deal with right now in this moment, I can put a date. I want to do this. I want to choose to do this, but this can wait until next week. And so I'll put a date next week next to that on my list. So I'm not ignoring it. I'm not procrastinating. I'm planning for when I'm going to do that. And to me, that's empowering, because then I have a plan for addressing that. And I can then focus on the things that I need to deal with immediately that are on today's list. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I had the exact same thought. I'm also a big list maker. I find it really helpful to kind of get things out of your head and on paper. And I find that exact same thing too. Like you said, sometimes I'm writing things down and I'm like, as I'm writing, I'm like, okay, that wasn't as big of a deal as I thought. But then there are other things that I'm like, okay, this doesn't really need, like, why am I stressing about this? There's no deadline on this. I can do this another time. I think, just a separate thought that came up with the list making part of things is also to look at your to-do items in a way of like, what inspires you and what does not. Now, unfortunately, sometimes there's lots of things on our to-do list that have to get done that don't inspire us.
Right.
And there's no way around that. Some of us don't like doing certain things, and that's fine. But I do find it helpful to do something that inspires me first, so that I'm able to sort of get in that energetic state of being able to tackle other things. So that's an idea as well.
Right. Yeah, I like that. It's kind of shifting your perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all about perspective.
It is. It is.
That's what life is all about, right?
It is. And choosing how to look at it. And my I kind of like try to pick sort of a theme for each month. And I think I'm going to carry March's over to April because it's really served me well. And so my theme for March has been turning obstacles into opportunities.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So that's kind of been my theme. And it's really supported me well for the month of October, or for the month of March. So I think I'm going to continue that on through April, because it's just really, it's easy to see things as obstacles, and to see them as just, an opportunity to get stuck. But
yeah,
when we see them as an opportunity and are curious about how we can get around this, how we can use this as a stepping stone to really support us in achieving, our goals and our ideas, then those obstacles really do become opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love that reminder.
Yeah. So how are we doing on time? Do you need to go?
Good. Looks like we went a little bit over, so we got a couple more minutes is fine.
Okay. So do you have any final thoughts on?
I feel like we threw a lot out there. So I guess just to really summarize, some key takeaways are to really reflect on the just the feelings and what you're looking to gain out of your self-care practice, so that you can start building, so that you can start gearing your practice around what you're looking to get out of it and what you desire. And then just to remember to start small.
Yep.
Don't overload yourself. Don't overwhelm yourself. Start small so that you can build healthy patterns, and really practice celebration along the way.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Celebrating is important, in
Very.
the little things. And let me ask you this, and we'll close. As one list maker to another, if you do something that's not on your list, do you write it down and cross it off?
I do.
Me too.
I do. It makes me feel so accomplished. And you know what? Who cares? Like, that's what we're talking about with the celebration, like the building momentum. Yes. Like, if you already did something that wasn't on your list, you write it down. Like, that action of crossing it off is like, all right, I'm ready to go on to the next thing. Like, you're building that momentum. And
yep, exactly. Yeah. I know. I love that too. I've had people tease me about it, and I'm like, I don't care. Then
it was an accomplishment, and I want to see it on that paper.
I can look back at my list and yeah, because sometimes at the end of the day, it's easy to feel like I didn't accomplish anything.
Right.
And when we make those notes, then we can really feel like, yeah, we've accomplished that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I love it.
well, I hope this is helpful and supportive to someone. Thank you. This
Yes.
is week 5, and we have decided to keep going.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're going to do a day change, though.
Yes, we're discussing a day change. So maybe we'll let everyone know for sure next week on
Okay.
our 6th one.
Okay.
But yeah, we were chatting about a day change.
So the initial 6 weeks is going to extend beyond 6 weeks.
Yes, I'm excited to keep going with these conversations.
Yes, as am I. So, well, thank you for your time. Thank you for showing up in a supportive way around my scheduling craziness today.
Hey, things happen.
Yeah.
Things happen. Just happy to be here now.
Yes. All right. Well, you have a beautiful day, and we'll talk next week.
Sounds good. You too.
All right. Bye.